Good evening. We'd like to welcome you all to the July 28th council meeting. We call this meeting to order. We will begin our meeting with a Pledge of Allegiance and an invocation. Council member Victor Peterson will be selecting one of our scouts to lead us in the pledge. We invite all in council chambers to please stand.
Thank you, Mayor Daniels. We have Joseph Johnston, leading us in the pledge.
It's up here, guys. Right here.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2.
Thank you, Joseph. All right, what we'd like to do also is acknowledge each of you for being here tonight. We're so grateful for our Boy Scouts and their involvement, positive impact in our community. We have a big group, so what we're going to do tonight is keep it pretty short. Just tell us your name and your rank, and then pass the mic down to the person on your right, and we'll just give everyone a chance to do that. We'll try and keep that brief. Oh, while we do that, we're going to pass out to each of you pocket-sized Constitution or copies of the U.S. Constitution, so for your study. Thanks.
I'm Branson, and I'm a Life Scout.
I'm Ethan, and I'm a Life Scout.
I'm Grant, and I'm a Star Scout.
I'm Matthew, and I'm a First Class.
I'm Britton, and I'm a Star Scout.
I'm Michael, and I'm a Life Scout.
I'm Griffin, and I'm a Life Scout.
I'm Zach, and I'm a First Class Star.
I'm Hunter, and I'm a Life Scout.
I'm Jake, and I'm a Life. I'm River, and I'm a First Class.
I'm Jacob, and I'm a First Class.
I'm Cade, and I'm a First Class.
I'm Caden, I'm a Star Scout.
I'm Jake, and I'm a Life Scout.
I'm Richard, I'm Life.
I'm Tanner Halls, and I'm a Life Scout.
I'm Joseph, and I'm a First Class.
I'm Kiefer, and I'm a First Class.
I'm Brock, and I'm a First Class.
I'm Easton, and I'm a First Class.
I'm Raven, and I'm a Star Scout.
I'm Nate, I'm a Second Class.
I'm Cole, I'm a First Class.
I'm Cadence, and I'm a Life.
I'm Jonathan, I'm a Life Scout.
Well, we are grateful again to have you here. Let's give these young men a round of applause. You guys can be seated. Thanks again. You may be seated.
Thank you. Not a week goes by in the town of Gilbert where there isn't an Eagle project, a scout troop, a scout meeting, a service project going on by these young men. And so we appreciate all the contributions you make in the town of Gilbert. Thank you. At this time, we will have our invocation. The invocation may be offered by a person of any religion, faith, belief, or non-belief, as well as council members. A list of volunteers is maintained by the town clerk, and interested persons should contact the clerk for further information. Tonight is our privilege to have Pastor Delmer Giese from Life Community Church. Thank you for being here.
Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, thank you for this wonderful town that we live in, for the blessings that you give us, Lord, for these wonderful young people, for the programs, for all the things that we enjoy. We pray your blessing, we pray your wisdom, we pray your direction in all the things that are discussed this evening. I pray these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Thank you. The clerk will now conduct the roll call.
Mayor Jen Daniels.
Here.
Vice Mayor Jared Taylor.
Here.
Councilmember Eddie Cook. Councilmember Victor Peterson.
Here.
Councilmember Bridget Peterson.
Here.
Councilmember Jordan Ray.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. We will have two proclamations and presentations today. The first will be the Pillar of the Month that will be read by Councilmember Bridget Peterson. And Councilmember Eddie Cook will assist us in the recognition of Jacinda Shelton. Bridget.
Thank you, Mayor. As this month's pillar is fairness, and as council members and town staff, we are committed to listening and being open-minded. We promise to act in a manner that does not place blame or take advantage. We take pride in being fair.
Could I have Jacinda Shelton please come here? Well, come right next to me, because we're going to look at the camera and all that. Why don't you share a little bit about why you're here?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Bank of America. I'm doing this internship with them where they sent me to DC for a week, and I've been able to be working at the Boys and Girls Club in Gilbert the whole summer. And in DC, we got to meet with our congresswoman and congressman and our Senator Jeff Flake. It was a great experience. And also working at the Boys and Girls Club and just opening up my eyes to the whole new world and learning so much about Gilbert and what I can do to make a difference.
Well, you really are the 2016 Bank of America Student Leader. Wow. How about a round of applause for Jacinda? Well, we have a certificate of recognition for your fine leadership, and we want to thank you on behalf of the mayor and the town council for doing what you do and continue on being the great leader that you are. Thank you. We have some pictures.
We'll now have communications from citizens. Vice Mayor Taylor, are there any communications tonight?
Mayor Daniels, I don't have any right now.
Thank you. We will move to a quick deviation from our printed agenda and move agenda item 33 forward. There's logic in what we're doing here. We are looking at a policy number that affects one of our consent calendar agenda items tonight. So with that, is there any discussion or would anyone like to offer a motion?
33. Mayor, if there's no discussion, I would like to move to approve item 33.
There's a second?
Second.
There is a motion and a second. All in favor? Please vote again. We'll move to a voice vote on this particular agenda item. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. That motion carries with a 6-0 vote. We'll now move to the consent agenda. I look to Vice Mayor Taylor.
Mayor, the following items have been requested to be pulled. Item 3, 8, 14, 16, and 23.
Thank you. We'll move forward with the remaining items on our consent calendar. Is there a motion?
Mayor, I move to approve items 4, 5, 6, and 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 17, 18, with the changes identified on the agenda and its subsections. Items 19, 20, 21, 22, 24, and 25.
Second.
Mayor, if we could request a verbal, audible vote on that, we can't get the board to work.
You bet. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries with a 6-0 vote. That takes us to agenda item 3. Which council member would like to discuss that?
Mayor, Councilmember Victor Peterson would like to address item 3.
Thank you.
Mayor and Council, I appreciate letting me pull this item. I don't have it in my mind to have a big debate about this tonight, but I am a fan of regional collaboration, and I'm not sure that this contract reflects the best way to go about it in representing the taxpayers of Gilbert. So something I want to learn more about and have more discussion out of the meeting, but at this point, I'm not in favor.
Thank you. With that, is there a motion?
Mayor, I move that we approve item number 3.
I'll second that, Mayor.
All in favor indicate by aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
That motion carries with a 4-2 vote. I did want to quickly recognize that we do have both Chris Camacho and Michelle Gramley-Cock in the room today. Thank you for being here and representing GPEC. We do appreciate the efforts. I know you work very closely with our economic development team, and we continue to see the great outcomes from that relationship. So thank you very much. That takes us, oh, yes?
I'm sorry, I was going to say, number 8 was the next requested item to be pulled by Councilmember Victor Peterson.
Yes.
Mayor, I just wanted to make a comment on this. We've proceeded along the path of receiving a certificate of necessity, or CON, really as an insurance policy of sorts for the taxpayers, for the citizens, that if there should be some disruption of service with the private provider that we have contracted with for ambulance services, that we would be able to still meet those needs. I still think that that's a good policy. And so I wanted to pull this, though, to make it very clear. And some earlier discussions with some staff members kind of had me concerned, but it's been clearly explained to me that at this point what we're doing is there is some requirement to use the CON. We have to use it at some minimal level, but our goal is to use it as little as possible and still maintain it. And so this just helps to meet that goal. Just to very publicly state, I do not support getting into the ambulance business, and I don't think, any presentation from any staff member or other council member has supported that idea either. And so I just want to make that clear, that we are going to keep this at a minimum in order to just maintain that certificate. So that's all I wanted to say, Mayor, before we voted on this.
Thank you. Councilmember Cook?
Well, I would like to maybe challenge Councilmember Peterson's comments, because I think if we were given a business proposal from Fire that showed that we could be more cost effective than the private industry, wouldn't you agree that from a cost perspective, if we went with the lowest provider of service and it gave us the highest quality, that we wouldn't, if our team were to provide that we wouldn't move forward with that? Because to me, I think that we if Fire were to come back and share that, we could compete and provide at least the same or higher service at a lower cost, I think I would be open in that discussion.
Well, just to respond to that, I'm certainly open to anything that saves the taxpayers money, but your comment to that effect is the first I've heard of it, so I've seen no presentations or any suggestions that that's the direction we're going. And so, and I'll just comment that my goal is to always, I'm very limited government conservative, and I want to keep the size and scope of government, limited. And I'm not generally in favor of increasing the scope of what we do. So, again, open to hearing more about that, but my position remains where I originally stated it.
Thank you to both of you. Councilmember Taylor, or Vice Mayor Taylor?
Mayor, I had some good discussions earlier. Appreciate the information and supportive of this item. And also, just there was a line in there that says, as a new line of service. And I think we're all, as a council and executive team, still directionally not getting into the ambulance business. Circumstances might change. Who knows? We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I wanted to make sure we're not communicating to the public something that's not really happening. But if there's no other discussion, I'd be happy to move this forward, Mayor.
Yes, let's move.
Mayor, move to approve item 8 as presented in the agenda with the changes identified on the dais tonight.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. That motion carries with a 6-0 vote. That moves us to agenda item 14. Who would like to pull that?
Mayor, Victor Peterson also would like to discuss this item.
Mayor, I don't have a long
explanation on this one. It's very simple for me. I pulled the CIP, or the capital improvement plan, that gives detail about this project, and the total cost is slated at $4.7 million. Now I understand that the at-grade option is extremely complicated, but I still think that $4.7 million is too much to spend on a single pedestrian crossing. It's not even a vehicular crossing. It's a single pedestrian crossing. At that price tag, we could build a new school on the other side of the track so people wouldn't have to cross it. I mean, it's just too much in my mind for that little of a benefit. So I can't support it at that price tag, and I'm not going to support this item that continues to roll the ball down the road.
Could we have actually a short presentation on this, Patrick, just to kind of let the public know kind of what we're thinking of?
Mayor, Councilmember Cook, in regards to tonight or at a future meeting to show them what this crossing will look like.
Because I know we've discussed this many times in the past. I just want a reminder of kind of the challenges at that location as it relates to public safety and everything's like that.
Mayor, Councilmember Cook, there have been many challenges with that. We've actually been working on this now for well over 2 years, probably closer to 3 years. That trail crossing, which connects us to the larger trail network within the East Valley, we call it the Western Canal Trail Crossing, is actually an illegal crossing per Union Pacific. It was never permitted as a crossing as such. It was something that we're not sure when it started, but at some point people started using it as a trail, but Union Pacific never officially permitted it as such. They placed some Jersey barriers, which are those large concrete barriers, in place and began a dialogue with us after a near miss with a train. The engineer alerted the officials within Union Pacific of that near miss, and they came in to assess the situation and put those barriers up, and began that dialogue with us, the town of Gilbert, in regards to we need to come up with a solution to alleviate the safety concerns in this area, and put us on notice that this is not a permitted crossing, so they would be well within their rights to shut this down, in essence cutting our trail network off from the larger trail network in the East Valley. We began in earnest to try to understand what type of engineering solutions were available, and we endeavored to try to find an at-grade crossing, and we worked diligently with them and pushed them very hard and challenged them to help us understand why an at-grade solution wouldn't work, and what dynamics are in play in that location. Through that process, we understood that this is a main line rail line for Union Pacific, carrying approximately 6 to 8 trains on a daily basis at more elevated speeds than you would have on what would be a spur line coming off of the main line. But this was a main line with elevated speeds and a decent frequency of trains. As well, in that general area, we're also dealing with a spur line that serves some industrial businesses. So in very close proximity to where this trail crossing is, there's a spur line which adds additional intensity in that general area, as well as a street being present right there, and then not too far away the canal. And so a lot of things from an engineering standpoint to be dealt with. At the end, did not find an acceptable at-grade solution that satisfied the safety concerns, given all the things that had to be factored in, and only a separated solution would be acceptable to them from a safety and risk mitigation standpoint.
And I think if we look at maybe from a common sense, practical solution, and if they would have agreed, because it would have probably met the needs, this particular, we'll say, adjustment for public safety could have been a lot more cheap or less cheaper than what's being proposed. But again, our good friends over at Union Pacific felt like that was not to their satisfaction, which was very, very unfortunate. That put us in a town perspective to come up with a alternative. Is that correct?
Yes, Mayor, Councilmember Cook, that is correct, as well as the span of that bridge and creating a bridge structure which would not become a barrier to people utilizing the trail from a jogging, cycling standpoint. So once we understood that it would need to be separated and looking at engineering designs and solutions, we began the process of applying for dollars for this project through the Maricopa Association of Governments, shortened known as MAG, and we were successful in getting full funding for this project through MAG, which we were very pleased by. Our staff did a great job with that. So the action tonight is to now move forward with that design, move forward with that project. Union Pacific has been very pleased in working with us at the solution we've come up with, which was a challenging situation. Our neighboring city of Chandler is still in the middle of a similar situation with Union Pacific. I don't believe they've resolved their issue yet, but we're very pleased to have resolved the issue, found funding so it didn't come out of our coffers, and to get this moving forward.
Thank you.
And I would like to give Vice Mayor Taylor just a few minutes. He has some added questions on this item, but just to reiterate, this is a contract for design, and yes, $4.7 million to me is way too expensive as well for a trail crossing, if you will, but the total cost of the project is very dependent upon which design we end up choosing. So this, I think 4.7 is the worst case scenario, and we're seeing what could possibly happen, but there are, and we have been in discussions with what type of design concepts could be presented to lower that cost substantially. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear, that that dialogue continues to proceed. So with that, Vice Mayor Taylor.
Mayor, thank you. I guess two questions. One might be just, this is a line that is on the yellow line. So and maybe this is just part of design, but the yellow line for the public is a potential route for a high-speed rail connection coming out of Tucson. And so I guess I would hope that this design considers that so we don't have to rebuild it if, that does materialize there. And Mayor, you might actually know this, or Patrick maybe, but what offsets can we apply here? Can we apply is there any MAG things that we can apply for, or is there any SRP because it's a trail things, because, I'm having sticker shock as well on the
We've been provided full MAG funding for this item. It was taken to MAG and we were awarded full funding for it. That doesn't mean that it's still not taxpayer dollars. So we're all very cognizant of that the fact that it still is, and we're looking for opportunities to drive that cost down. It is not specific to an SRP, but SRP SRP aesthetic funds could assist in another aspect in relation to this, meaning a crossing at the canal, which will occur in a separate design process.
I think that's helpful, because I think last time we had about a little over $1 million of the SRP aesthetics fund that weren't committed, and I don't know if directionally we can do that as part of this. I mean, I'd be more warm to it if we can see some offsets committed to it. But yep. Patrick.
Mayor, Vice Mayor Taylor, we did receive 100% of the costs covered from MAG for this project, so we'll have no dollars coming out of our coffers to get this done.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
With that discussion, is there a motion?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve item 14 with the changes identified on the agenda, with recognizing the discussions that we talked about, the aggressive usage of offsets here to bring this cost down.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
That passes with a 5-1 vote. That takes us to agenda item 16 tonight.
Mayor, Councilmember Victor Peterson would like to address that.
Mayor, this one's complicated, to say the least. I've spent a lot of time with staff members trying to make heads or tails of this item. To summarize my concern, is to make it very simple. This traffic signal is going to come out of the general fund, and the idea is that growth should pay for growth, and so if it's growth related,
then SDFs pay for it. Well, from what I'm hearing, the argument is that this is somewhat of a gray area. But the bottom line is, if it is growth related, we should use SDFs to pay for it. And then it's fair to say the development there has paid their fair share in terms of paying their SDF funds towards the signal, and I'd be fine with that. That's what I'd really like to see happen. But what we're doing is we're saying, well, it's growth related and they've paid their share, but we're going to pay out of the general fund. Well, the problem with that is the general fund's never going to get repaid for that. And so even if the development pays towards the SDF fund, that's never going to go to restore that loss that came out of the general fund. Furthermore, we have a financial policy that says that we use the most restrictive funds possible towards any expenditure first. And this, if this is legal to use SDFs towards this, and I believe that it is, then we're not following that policy. And so I've talked with Patrick about this and understanding some of my concerns. I don't know if he's wants to talk about a future policy that may address something like this, but I do think that it's a bad precedent to set to start paying out of the general fund something that is ostensibly growth related, because there's really no way to repay that. I think that could be a unsustainable path.
Thank you. We'll have Councilmember Ray.
I believe I understand what Councilman Peterson is saying. I think one of the problems we have is we have two competing policies here that contradict each other, right? We have a policy that this does not fit under to have it come out of SDF funds, which in hindsight now is a bad policy, and we need to adjust that. And so what I would like to do is we move forward on this, and just to confirm, Patrick, this is not a situation where Patrick, quick question for you. This is not a situation where the development is not paying the fees. They're still paying the system development fees, but because of a policy that we have in place that says we can't have system development fees pay for this, we're not giving them some sort of deal. But what I would like to do is, following this meeting, look at those policies that are now competing against each other and make sure that we don't have this happen in the future. So I agree with what Councilman Peterson is saying. Unfortunately, we have another policy that contradicts it, and so I'd like to get those finalized, but I just want to confirm that this is not something where they're not paying it. It's just coming from two separate funds. Is that correct, Patrick?
Mayor, Councilmember Ray, that is correct, and that was the extent of my conversation with Councilmember Peterson, that we would be more than happy to go back and look at this policy and maybe build in more flexibility so that we can accommodate issues like this into the future.
Thank you. You have more?
I'm ready for a motion if you're ready, Mayor. I don't know what other.
Looks like we have at least one other. Vice Mayor Taylor?
Mayor, I didn't want to address the policy discussion, so if that's run its course, I wanted to talk about something else related. So I'm generally supportive of this. I guess what I learned that I wanted to share, make sure we all understand, is that there's another signal that's planned between this and McQueen on Elliott that Suncor is asking to get in and out of some of the new properties that'll be right on Elliott. So I think this is actually the best one, but I'd love to see them share this one because there's so much westbound traffic for our morning commuters that are working in other places. Hopefully I'm sure they're just working on West Gilbert. But to put them through all these signals, there's people that travel 14 signals just to get on the 60. I guess I'm okay supporting this, but I want to make sure that we're just not signalizing every time every business is asking for one. Orbital is asking for another signal to justify their growth. Their growth is actually on the McQueen side, which is already signalized. So they actually already have a signal for the growth that they have, and so I support this one, but if there's a way that we can connect the Suncor with this so that there's really just one new signal and our morning commuters won't have to hit two potential lights, I guess that's something I want to make sure that we are aware of here. So
sure. I think that we'll look for a motion very quickly here, but what we've heard now from the council is to review conflicting policy or potential conflicts in our policies as it relates to usage of funds, and also if we could direct staff to examine the design of the streetlights on Elliott Road as it relates to traffic and true need going forward. Let's just ask staff to look at that and circle back with you. Okay. Councilmember Peterson.
Thank you. I totally support that. Just to clarify something I think that Jared said that I want to make sure is captured is that to still continue to look at the possibility of the two developments sharing that light. I really think that makes the most sense.
I think that was captured. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Is there a motion?
Mayor, I move that we approve item number 16.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries with a 6-0 vote. Thanks. That takes us to the final agenda item of the consent calendar, agenda item 23.
Mayor Bridget Peterson, Councilmember Bridget Peterson asked to address that item.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Taylor. These are the bylaws for the Human Relations Commission that they've been, I guess, in limbo for quite some time and have come to us with approval for this evening. And I read through them very carefully, and coming through them and looking at them, I had a couple of questions that I called Melanie Dykstra about. And one was when terms expire and how we choose how many people expire at the same time, which was 3 and 2, and I was a little concerned about that being only a 5-member board. Melanie and Lisa and I talked about that a little bit today, and I think I'm a little more comfortable with that. But then I realized also there's an alternates position, and for a 5-member board to have an alternates position, I'm not sure that it's really necessary. For a board that meets quarterly to have an alternate, they should know well in advance when their quarterly meetings are and hopefully be able to make those. So my recommendation would be to not eliminate the alternate as it stands now, but not to reseat that position when it expires in 2017, or if that person decides to resign prior to the end of their term, and just leave this as a 5-member board moving forward. They also have in their bylaws that they can appoint non-voting and ad hoc commissioners to come in and discuss issues with them. So I think that opens them up to a lot more people to have discussions with too.
Thank you. I think that's a solid recommendation. Any concern?
Mayor, I would support that as the liaison to the HRC. I think that's a good comment, good thought.
Thank you. With that, is there a motion?
I will move to approve the Human Relations Commission bylaws this evening, stating that the alternates position, when it expires in 2017, will be vacated, and if the person resigns before then that position will be vacated at that time. So it'll be a 5-member team.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries with a 6-0 vote. That concludes our consent calendar. We move to public hearing items. Items will be heard at one public hearing, at which time anyone wishing to comment on a public hearing item may do so. Comments will be heard from those in support of or in opposition to an item. In order to comment on a public hearing item, you must fill out a public comment form indicating the item number on which you wish to be heard. We have 5 public hearing items tonight. Do we have any that the council wishes to discuss? None. Do we have any public that wish to comment?
Mayor, no public comment cards at this time.
Okay, at this time we will open the public hearing on agenda items 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Are there any comments from council? We will close the public hearing on agenda items 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30, and we will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move that we approve items 26 through 30.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries with a 6-0 vote. We're now on administrative items. Thank you for those who came for the public hearing items. I see several of you here. Congratulations. We have we have 2 administrative items this evening. Item number 31, the acceptance of the budget report. Any comment from council? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve item 31 as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries with a 6-0 vote. We're now on agenda item 32. Did we go too fast for you, Manager Banger?
Mayor, council members, no.
All right. Agenda item 32 is boards, commissions, and committee reports. Are there any reports from council members? Any reports from staff on any of those items? Thank you. We've already covered agenda item 33, future meetings. I saw no requests for future meeting or agenda items. Communications, report from the town manager on current events.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. I'd like to ask Ken Snow from our capital projects program to come up. He's going to give a short presentation. A while back when we had that large force main break on Greenfield Road, we communicated to you that we were going to have an assessment done and try to understand where we may have other situations in which a similar type of design was utilized, because that was now our second failure in a short duration of time. So we did that, and tonight you acted on the motion to provide the funding to begin the remediation of what else we found. But we wanted to do a report out to you so you understand what we did find, the extent of the problems, and what we're going to do to correct that. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ken.
And Ken, my apologies for not having you come up during those two agenda items. We'll make sure that gets fixed in the future. Thanks.
No problem, Mayor. Thank you very much for your time this evening and the chance to address those two projects here in the session. This is the wastewater force main summary. As you know, we were tasked by council to address those two wastewater force main failures that occurred earlier this year. One earlier this year, the other the year before. We compiled this information with Mark Horn, who's your wastewater manager, and with assistance from Jessica Marlowe, the interim public works director. So that's the location of the 2015 sinkhole that occurred at the corner of Queen Creek and Greenfield Road, and the second one that occurred directly to the north. Both of these are about a little over $1 million in cost, and they take several months to repair. So they are both very time-consuming to repair and extremely expensive to repair. So just to keep that in mind, that's about a $2 million investment to repair that. In terms of chemistry, without getting too in-depth, hydrogen sulfide combines with oxygen to create sulfuric acid. It attacks certain types of materials. Some are inert, PVC, HDPE, high-density polyethylene, and a type of internal epoxy lining is essentially inert, giving us a long service life. Ductile iron pipe is susceptible to this corrosion. So here's a cross-section of what the pipe looks like on the inside and photographs of what we excavated with the help of our JOC contractor and the wastewater team. The pipe label was still legible, and that call out that I have there, the ACL, indicates that we have a single layer of cement lining. So this was an inappropriate lining for this infrastructure, thus its early failure. So bottom line.
Ken, I have a question. Yes, now, when you say this is inappropriate lining, obviously this project was done many years ago. Do we have a standard when we bid these out to, a construction company to do these things? I mean, help me understand why, because obviously, I'm thinking that there are professionals, engineers that are registered, that look at plans, that understand that I'm going to have this particular type of corrosion due to the type of material that's flowing in there. You would think you would pick the right type of plumbing to meet the needs, right? So is there liabilities here of the company that possibly provided the wrong type of plumbing here that the taxpayer can, recover from? I don't know.
Well, in terms of, I can only speak in engineering terms, sir, and this is an inappropriate lining, and that is not intended for wastewater service. I have hidden slides in this PowerPoint that I'm going to present to you at your next help me out with the name, the executive session. And during that session, I'm going to explain a little more in detail where the laws are behind this, but I will have to defer to legal counsel on any liabilities, of course. the first thing we did was we took a look at every force main that we have. We got 14 of them. We have quite a few force mains in the town. We developed criteria based on probability and criticality. So those are listed at the top: age, its location, the size of the line, the number of people that are affected. And we boiled it down to those that are most effective or most critical, and we have presented those in the form of wastewater CIP 104 to you tonight. The second priority is a retrofit of the rest of those 12 force mains that are over on this slide with a feature such as what you see here, a force main clean out in strategic locations. I've made budget numbers, just back of the envelope budget numbers, so we can start to plan what this next couple of years looks like for us to go in, retrofit, place these cleanouts in so that we can physically access these pipes and have an idea of what the condition looks like within. On this slide here, everything that's in orange, I cannot physically inspect, and that is half of our problem, is we don't have these cleanouts. In regards to some of your questions regarding is there standards and things of this nature? Yes, but force mains aren't regulated in terms of, aren't specified in MAG, and that's where most of the contractors reference, and it's not specifically called out that you have an epoxy lining, and that's what we're after here. We are going to be working with the engineering department in order to have a Town of Gilbert specific requirement, and we have taken a very active role in all future force main projects until we have that policy hammered out. The locations of the force mains that we have identified as the top 5, so you have an idea of geographically where they're located and their approximate lengths. At this time, I can take any questions that you have. I have my contact information up there for the public as well, if there's any other questions.
Mayor, I just wanted to know, Ken, are you new with us?
As of last Thanksgiving, yes, ma'am, I am.
Well, I'd never seen you before, so welcome aboard. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. I appreciate that.
Thank you for that presentation. I'm going to ask, I'm channeling I have my resident hat on right now. While you're doing both clean out, retrofit, and rebuilds in the situations that will require it, will there be any break in service to any of our residents? Do we anticipate any sort of disruption in their lives as we move forward with these projects? And thank you for a very extensive presentation. I know that it's been a heavy load to look through all these lift stations. There you go.
Don't worry, man. We live for this. So bottom line there, the wastewater group has developed bypass operation plans specific to what we've identified as the highest risk failure areas. So we have a plan in place. Some of them are better than others, but we have a plan. We know exactly what we're going to do if there is an outage. So we will maintain service. Wastewater is a different animal in that you can't turn wastewater off. We must maintain service. So and being proactive in this nature, as you can see, I'm coming here approximating about a $3 million cost over the next couple of years to get these retrofits and these repairs in. And that's, of course, about the cost of 2 sinkholes. So
I think you'll know that we all agree that this is very important to the entire community. So thank you. As far as road closures and street closures, as you proceed with this work, I'm sure you'll work with our communications team to make sure that the word gets out about what detours there might exist. So
yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Councilmember Peterson, I saw your hand up.
Mayor, you said it. I just want to say thank you. We appreciate it. We've been asking for this, and thank you for delivering.
Our pleasure, sir.
Thank you.
Unless there's any other questions, sir?
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Any other report from town manager? Thank you for filling in that gap that I missed today. Thanks. Any report from council on current events? Yes, Vice Mayor Taylor.
Mayor, I just wanted to express public thanks to Rod Buchanan, our Parks Director, and Melanie Dykstra. She was with Parks for many, many years, a champion of the aquatics program. We're at the end of the season, the swimming season, and just always like to recognize the hard work that they do. We have lots of great people that learned to swim for the first time this summer and had a great time in the competitive program. It's a lot of hard work. The program is very successful. Just wanted to express thanks on behalf of the residents to them and all their hard work.
Yes, thank you. Rob Giles, I think, is also very involved in that, as well as several other Parks and Rec staff. So yes, thank you. Any other report from council? Oh, sorry, Councilmember Peterson.
I'm way over here on the right. I'm hard to hear sometimes. Just kidding. I just wanted to report that we are very excited with For Our City Gilbert. I Run for Good has officially broken their goal. We've exceeded our goal for fundraising at this point. Over $6,000 we've raised in sponsorships. We're so grateful to all of our sponsors, not least of which is Dignity Health for being our presenting sponsor. I just want to remind everyone that it's October 22nd is the day of the race. It's going to be at Freestone Park. Registration is open. They can go to irunforgood.org and register there. If you want to sponsor, you can sponsor there. It's pretty much all there on the site. So we just want to invite everyone to get involved. We're all very excited about it. It should be a great event. Actually, I want to challenge all the council members to make a team, form a team. There are team discounts. So if you get a team to run with you, then you can have bragging rights if you guys do well. There will be winners in different categories and things like that, so we're going to have a lot of fun with that. And just to point out, it is for a very, very good cause. We're grateful to the Gilbert Police Department or Chief Dorn for creating the Family Violence Unit, and we're excited to create an initial deposit into a fund for them to help assist families affected by domestic violence. So that's all I had, Mayor. Thanks so much for the time.
Thank you. Councilmember Peterson?
Mayor, I wanted to say congratulations on your first full meeting this evening as mayor.
Thanks. Hope no one can see me shaking a little bit up here. So
You did a great job.
I think we got it done. That leads me to a report from Mayor on current events. Three things. First is the slide that you see on the screen. We are back to school in the town of Gilbert. Chandler and Higley started on Monday. Gilbert Public Schools starts Wednesday, and charter schools in the town of Gilbert and private schools have varying start dates. Please remember to be careful as you drive through our community. On August 12th, there's a star party and skywatch with the East Valley Astronomy Club beginning at 6 p.m. at the Riparian Reserve. You can either go there to see the stars or you can go catch Pokemon. I think there's been a lot of activity on both fronts. Also, we wanted to remind our Gilbert residents that there is an election coming up on August 30th, in which we have 2 questions on the ballot pertaining to the sale of town-owned property. For a list of voting locations, please visit the Maricopa County Recorder's Office, and for information on those 2 ballot questions, you're welcome to visit gilbertaz.gov, where you can find all of the information that you might need on those 2 ballot initiatives. With that, and with no other comments from council, meeting adjourned.